Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they quit at the exact moment progress is about to compound. And the cruel part is, quitting feels logical when it happens. It feels justified, it feels responsible. You tell yourself you gave it a fair shot. You tell yourself it just wasn't working. But what you don't realize in that moment is that you were standing inches away from the point where everything gets easier. This happens in money, in investing, in careers, in businesses, in fitness, in habits. The pattern is everywhere. The work feels heavy at the start. Progress feels invisible. Results feel unfairly small. And then, right before momentum kicks in, most people stop. Not because they're lazy, not because they're dumb, but because their brain is wired to misread progress. At the beginning of any financial journey, effort is front-loaded and rewards are back-loaded. You're saving money, but your lifestyle hasn't changed. You're investing, but your account balance barely moves. You're working harder, but your income hasn't jumped yet. And your brain hates this phase. Your brain evolved to survive immediate threats, not to wait patiently for long-term rewards. It wants proof. It wants feedback. It wants certainty. And early-stage progress offers none of that. Let's talk about why this phase feels so unbearable. Imagine pushing a heavy boulder uphill. At first, every step is exhausting. The boulder barely moves, you're sweating, struggling, questioning whether it's worth it. This is the early phase of investing, saving, skill building, or business building. Your effort is real, but the movement is minimal. Then something interesting happens. The hill flattens. Gravity starts helping you. The same effort produces more movement. But most people never reach this point. They stop pushing when the resistance is highest. This is what compounding actually feels like. Not exciting, not motivating, just slow and discouraging until it suddenly isn't. And here's the dangerous part. The moment before compounding kicks in feels identical to failure. From the inside, you can't tell the difference. Your portfolio growing slowly looks the same as one that will never grow. Your side hustle making $300 a month looks the same whether it's about to die or about to explode. So your brain fills in the gaps with fear. This isn't working. I'm wasting my time. I should do something else. Other people are ahead of me. I started too late. These thoughts feel rational, but they're driven by emotion, not evidence. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called the dip. It's the period after initial excitement fades, but before real results arrive. Motivation drops. Doubt increases. This is where almost everyone quits. At the start, motivation is high because hope is high. You imagine the future version of yourself. You picture financial freedom. You picture security. That vision carries you for a while. But motivation alone doesn't last. Once the novelty fades, discipline has to take over. And discipline doesn't feel good. This is where smart people are especially vulnerable. Smart people analyze. Smart people optimize. Smart people notice inefficiencies. And when progress is slow, smart people don't just feel frustration. They intellectualize it. They start convincing themselves that quitting is the smart decision. They say things like, the returns aren't worth the effort, or there are better opportunities out there, or I should wait until conditions improve. But often that's not intelligence talking. That's discomfort looking for a justification. Let me give you a real-world example. Someone starts investing consistently. They put $500 a month into a broad index fund. After a year, they've invested $6,000. The market has gone sideways. Their account is up maybe a few $100s. It feels underwhelming. They expected more. They thought investing would feel different. Then the market dips. Their account goes down. Now it feels personal. All that effort, and they're behind where they started. That emotional pain hits harder than the logical understanding that markets fluctuate. So they stop. They pause contributions. They wait for things to feel safer. But that pause happens right before the snowball starts rolling faster. Because compounding doesn't impress early. It accelerates late. The first $10,000 feels painfully slow. The first $100,000 feels impossible. But after that, something shifts. Growth becomes noticeable. Monthly swings are larger than your contributions. Your money starts working harder than you do, but you only get there if you stay long enough. Your brain, unfortunately, is terrible at projecting exponential growth. We think linearly. We expect effort and reward to match in real time. When they don't, we assume something is wrong. That's why people quit. Another reason people quit too early is comparison. You look around and see others moving faster. Someone got promoted, someone's investment doubled, someone's business took off. You don't see their early years. You see the highlight reel, and your slow progress suddenly feels like proof that you're behind. But comparison distorts timing. Everyone's curve looks flat at the start. You just don't see it because no one posts the boring years. There's also the issue of delayed identity change. Early on, you still feel like the same person. You don't feel richer. You don't feel different. You're doing new behaviors, but your identity hasn't caught up yet. And that gap is uncomfortable. You start thinking, if this were really working, I'd feel more successful by now. But identity changes after results, not before. You don't feel like an investor until investing has worked long enough to change your reality. You don't feel disciplined until discipline has paid off, and that lag tricks people into thinking nothing is happening. Another trap is emotional exhaustion. Early progress requires more conscious effort. You're budgeting intentionally. You're saying no to things. You're tracking numbers. You're thinking about money more than before. That mental load is heavy at first. Later, systems take over. Habits form. Automation reduces friction. Decisions get easier. But most people quit before reaching that point of ease. They quit during the hardest, most effort-intensive phase, the phase designed to test commitment. There's also fear hiding underneath quitting. Fear of wasting time, fear of being wrong, fear of looking foolish, fear of committing to something that might not work. Quitting feels like control, it feels like protecting yourself. But in reality, it often protects you from growth. The truth is, almost everything worthwhile gets easier after you stick with it long enough. Saving gets easier once you have momentum. Investing gets easier once compounding becomes visible. Careers get easier once experience stacks. Businesses get easier once systems replace chaos. The hardest part is not starting. It's continuing when progress feels unfairly slow. So how do you avoid quitting too early? First, you redefine what progress looks like. Early progress is not results. Early progress is consistency. It's showing up. It's building the habit. It's staying in the game. If you measure success by visible outcomes too early, you'll always feel behind. Second, you remove decision points. Most people quit at moments of choice. Should I keep investing? Should I continue this habit? Should I stick with this plan? Every decision drains willpower. Automation removes those moments. When the decision is made once, quitting becomes harder. Third, you zoom out. Instead of asking, is this working this month? Ask, would I regret quitting this 5 years from now? That question changes your emotional state. It shifts you from short-term discomfort to long-term perspective. Fourth, you expect the dip. When you know the hard phase is normal, it stops feeling like a personal failure. You stop panicking when motivation drops. You recognize it as part of the process, not a signal to stop. And finally, you anchor to process, not outcomes. You can't control markets. You can't control timing. You can't control short-term results, but you can control consistency. And consistency is what compounds. Most people quit not because it's impossible, but because it's uncomfortable longer than they expected. They underestimate how long normal, slow progress lasts. And they overestimate how dramatic early results should feel. The irony is, the moment they quit is often the moment just before things start to accelerate. The moment just before habits feel automatic. The moment just before growth becomes visible. The moment just before effort turns into momentum. Staying feels boring. Quitting feels decisive. But boredom is often a sign that systems are forming. That's when things are actually working. So if you're in that phase right now, saving, investing, building, learning, and it feels slow, quiet, and unrewarding, that doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're early. And early is exactly where you need to be to win later. I'm Brandon Invests, and if this helped you understand the psychology of finance, subscribe for more.